Good morning, everybody. Where y'all been? I've been here every day waiting for you all. And you guys are just never here every time. Oh, it's 49 minutes after the hour. Welcome to the morning blog here on this third day of July. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Goode. Yes, I know today I warned you guys earlier this week it was going to be a bit of a weird week on schedules. It probably will be for a while, to be honest with you, because we're all over the place. So obviously, if you don't see us on all the time, that's not necessarily a bad thing, considering that usually we're on a lot when there's active weather, right? So appreciate y'all's patience as always. Okay, so hope you guys are doing well. Let me know how things are going with you all. I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a few days. Hello, Judy, Jacob. Hello, good morning to Angela. You can comment, by the way, if you're watching on stream, you can comment on the social media side of things, Facebook, YouTube, and on X as well, even on Twitch. And if you're on those services, always helps when you hit the share button, right? Get the word out. Helps us out as well. The more we can grow our weather audience. You guys are a big help whenever we get into active weather, so the more we can bring on recruits, the better we're going to be. So I appreciate you all doing that. Sean, I missed the old weather blog intro song. I do too. It's gone. It's no longer in existence. It's a whole other story on that. But so that's the reason I'm having fun with different songs for now until we find a new one that we all like. So I'll keep playing them until one day you guys are like, this is it. This is the one. I do have one already picked for Snow Talk. I'll be honest. I already have Snow Talk picked out. I really like it. So that one you don't get a vote on. But I do think you'll like it. We just got to hurry up and get there. But you will not hear it until, let's see, it won't be the first time. If everything goes as scheduled, you never know around here, it would be the first Wednesday or Thursday of November, I believe. Now, the Halloween night is the winter forecast. That hasn't changed. That's when the forecast will come out. But probably the first time you hear Snow Talk will be about a week after that. Okay, enough rambling. Let's get into what you guys are here for, and that's the weather. You're not here to talk to me. Let's run down first of our stats. We hit 90 yesterday. That's now our 11th day of 90-degree weather. And I'm not showing you saying, oh, it's a big ordeal. We just always do this. Since I've been here at Wave, we've always tracked the 90s, just like we track the snow in the wintertime. So just letting you know where we're at. Of course, the longest stretch we had together was the 8-day heat wave that just ended. Now this is the second one starting up. Will not be as intense as the last one. It still is going to get into the mid-90s. Heat index may still get close to 100, but 105 to 108, that type of nasty stuff, no, this one will be different. It will not be as intense, which is good because now we really have a lot of people who are going to be out for the holiday. So that cuts down on the bigger danger that heat waves can have. But still, as we always have to say, especially when you get into the upper 90s, just make sure you're taking those precautions seriously. Let's hope we don't have a repeat, though, of 2010. We've came close. 2012, actually, I felt like was up there for being a very, very, very hot summer. 2007, of course, was a hot summer as well. So we've had some hot ones in the area, but 85 is the record that we have for the number of days for the year. Last year, by the way, 59 was our total stretch. Here is where we stand in recent days, and you can see that core of the heat wave, the first one. 94 through 90, well, to 94 to 91 was the range on that, with a peak of 2 days at 97. Again, yesterday hit 90 after a few days just barely below 90. I almost wish we had hit it. That way we could have continued the numbers. But anyway, that's me. Hey, it looks like Charlotte is back on our SkyTrack camera. This is our Spider. That's on both the one in downtown Louisville and the one at the harbors in Jeffersonville. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell if that's Charlotte or what Charlotte had for breakfast. You'll know in a minute whenever Charlotte decides to start moving around. But obviously it's not the same Charlotte for over a decade now. That would be a whole other story. But still, they love to build webs right on our SkyTrack camera, so it's always fun. Usually it's this time of the year, but we've had some creepy shots, too, with Charlotte. Some creepy ones, for sure. Always about the right moment when you click on that camera. But anyway, you can see the blue skies, the whole point of that. Ignore whatever's flying in front of the camera. But beautiful out there. We do have more cumulus outside already that are beginning to pop, and I do think that's important to note about how there may be a slight change in how things play out today. 79 in Louisville at the moment, 77 Bardstown, 78 into Salem, Indiana. All right, can't tell too much from looking at the visible satellite at the moment, but it is beautiful outside, comfortable. Humidity levels, yeah, you feel it. You know it's humid, but it's typical July humidity. And just like yesterday, it won't have a huge impact on the numbers for later on today. Okay, the rest of the country. Well, what's going on? Because it's a little busy at times. We have the monsoon season that's in full force now from Texas and Arizona all the way into the desert Southwest. This is the majority of the rainfall for the entire year is really highly dependent on this time of year happening. So they are happy to get a lot of that moisture, some of that from the early tropical season too they had in the Eastern Pacific. They've already had a couple of hurricanes and tropical storms, so that's helping to really promote the monsoon kickoff there into the desert Southwest. Meanwhile, we've got a front, the same one that kicked up our rounds of rain and thunderstorms that lasted for a while, is now draped over the Florida Panhandle area and east of the Carolinas. And it's typically the case in the warmer months especially, but when you get a cold front that heads to that area of the country, the wind field, once you get to near Kentucky, typically is a very weak wind field. Cold fronts, as always say, come here to die because they just can't get further to the south. This has been an unusual year, though. Many fronts have made it all the way through Kentucky. And in this case, this one made it all the way down to the Gulf Stream itself, and to the eastern side of the Gulf around Florida. And when you have water temperatures that are running between 80 and 88 degrees right now, that is a perfect breeding ground for a tropical system to develop. All you need is a spin to get going, and off she goes. And that's exactly what's trying to happen there across the southeast. Crummy weather for some of the beaches, although most of this is just offshore. A lot of the beaches, I know some of you are on the chat now. If you're in that area, let me know. Let's see. Yeah, some of you are there hanging out right now on a beach towel watching the blog. And that's what I call dedication, by the way. Most of it's offshore, but some of it that's on, especially Florida, just unfortunately the way you stick out from the rest of the lower 48, you're right in the path of the front. But anyway, we're watching it. Hurricane Center's watching as well. They changed the numbers slightly today on this feature to raise it to a 60% chance of development as we hit toward the holiday weekend. And if it were to get named, it would drift to the east-northeast. So there's some signs that it may linger a bit near Bermuda, and it may try to come back again to the west by late July, but there's nothing really overwhelming that I see in the signal that this would be a big system, but we'll see. I'm sure you guys have heard we lost one of the key satellites that tracks this type of setup. One of the bigger models, the GFDL that we look at, everything's been shut down as of the 30th of June from NOAA. So because of that, it's going to be interesting to see how the modeling handles that missing data that would normally pick out these little features like this and target them a little easier. So we'll be monitoring that the closest we can anyway as we get into the extended. But for those of you in the southeast corner of the country, just know that we are watching it. Next name on the list is Chantal. We'll see if that happens. Okay, back here at home, this is not rain, but this is just general moisture that is showing up in the air. And yes, we had lower humidity values move in yesterday. Felt great. I hope you noticed that. Even in the evening, wasn't bad. Yes, you still sweat walking around doing yard work, but nothing like opening up the door to the sauna that we had in the first heat wave, right? Now, we look at this as well to track how those moisture fields will be building to help us engaging a forecast for a heat index. And while it's nothing overly high here, there is just a small amount of moisture that has drifted into the I-64 corridor today. You see it right there, hugging right along the core there of the Ohio River. And why is that important? Well, I think it may be just enough to fire up a downpour this afternoon. So we've added a small rain chance into the forecast for that potential. Now, because our wind flow today is coming in from the north, it will likely feed on anything from the heat island again today. So if anything were to develop, it would drift, because of the wind flow, it would drift south or southwest of the city. So during the last heat wave, it was a south flow, so it was mainly Clark County, Oldham County, Eastern Jefferson, Shelby, and Henry that picked up the majority of the heat island effect storms. Well, with today's setup, I don't know if we'll get the storm level or not, but because of the wind flow, it's going to be PRP, Okolona, Shepherdsville, maybe even Fort Knox, and southern Harrison County. You will be the zone downwind from the city that could get a quick shower. So I'm only going to mention it in case you are, even if you're out doing yard work, it's nothing major. It's not going to be heavy enough to cause a problem. But if you're painting or staining your deck outside or painting something outside a fence, you don't need any rain at all. I just want you to be extra aware that there is a chance for a quick little shower. Here is Futurecast. It tries to hint at it. In fact, this is the most recent run. I haven't even seen this one yet. It does have one now popping in Bullitt County at 6 o'clock. And then, well, it looks like when we backtrack, looks like also, what was that, Breckenridge or Meade? Yeah, right there. Breckenridge and Meade also show up there. So there's a chance. I mean, this is most recent model run, so I think it's latched on to that moisture. It would only last through about sunset, and then anything after that will be over with. Minor issue, a 10% chance. Let's move on. Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment. You guys know what it is. You see a blank map, you know what I'm about to do. While I'm loading that up, any questions I can try to answer for you all? Hi, Landon. How's your day? My day's doing well. Thank you. Going well. Thank you, Landon. You're watching Byron Douglas over at WFAE. Yeah, I've met Byron a few times, known him a long time. I think it was my days at WKU. Byron's been there a while. So if you ever talk to him, tell him I said hello. Let's see. Everyone else seems good. All right. Too early to say bots? Never too early to say bots, Angela. Never too early. In fact, we could say it a lot more often now, and no one gets too upset. In January, everyone gets a little cranky, but right now they're fine. Okay. Yes, it is time for art class. So here's the setup for the heat and to next week, how the pattern's going to evolve, because there's a lot of different story ideas coming out about how the rest of July and August will trend. What I can tell you is, yes, the heat will be building. Everyone knows that as we head into the 4th of July, into Sunday, and maybe Monday. But starting on Monday, we have a front that'll be sinking south. It'll be angled like this on Monday. Showers and storms will be ahead of it, dropping down. Once we get into Tuesday, and this is important, the front should get down to southern Kentucky and perhaps to the nation's capital. As long as it pushes south of us, we should see a drop in moisture levels coming in from the north that would allow for the rain chance to drop down dramatically. You could even get a partly sunny day. And temperatures, right around 90. Nothing major on temperature change, but it could give us a little bit of a break. So a little active on Monday when the front approaches. We may be able to breathe. Now, if you're in southern Kentucky, and I'm talking to you, Adair County, because you're always in the path, but southern Kentucky, you may not be completely out of the storm zone just because the front will be so close to you. But if you were in Seymour and North Vernon, even Madison, Indiana, you'll be in a much better spot to be north of it. But unfortunately, the front doesn't stay down to the south long. As you guys know, it's going to lift back to the north again, back into the southern Great Lakes as we head into Wednesday. Now, here's where things get a little weird. As we get into Wednesday, for the middle of the week, you got to look at this front as a train track, as we say this all the time, for locomotives to ride along that, right? Well, we're going to have several locomotives tracking along this for next week. Several different ways the thunderstorms will move right along this boundary, and at times it'll be stormy. Too early to talk about anything on the severe side, but obviously this time of the year, can't rule it out. But it will mean rounds of showers and storms right along that. So where the boundary ends up settling, I'm being very vague on drawing it here because the models don't know, and I don't know. I'm just giving you a general idea of the zone that I think is most likely for it to be placed. Now, if it's off on its track, then that will obviously change the forecast a bit. But in general, expect there to be some kind of a wavy track in the area with showers and storms moving along it. Where things get a little wonky is toward the end of July, and I'm maybe getting out too far, perhaps closer to the 18th to the 23rd of July. There is one that is showing up, excuse me, that moves along the tracks and gets past Louisville, then suddenly it gets to about West Virginia and slows down because there is a massive block that is happening here in the weather pattern on the East Coast. And this poor little low pressure has nowhere to go, so it'll just drift over the Appalachians and may even drift back to the west into Memphis, may continue to drift over Missouri, and then back over to Chicago again, and then maybe back towards, say, Toronto. That may be the storyline. Don't you love my art? Someone needs to frame that. Screenshot that. Somebody screenshot it. That will be the general trend I'm noticing on a lot of the long range, and that's why some forecasts you may have seen are going with a cooler than normal setup, stormy weather. Some are going with a flat-out heat wave coming our way for later this month into August. And the argument for both is certainly fair, because around this cutoff low pressure in the region will be indeed a heat wave, intense heat into the plains. We're going to have intense heat up here into, I don't know what my pen's doing there. We're going to have intense heat, just redraw it, intense heat that'll be surrounding it. So here's basically, all right, here's the low wandering here, okay? Heat wave will surround it, almost like the Ring of Fire, but kind of the opposite effect here, where the heat is surrounding it. It'll go all the way up to the Great Lakes and surrounding us into the northeast. And I'm talking about upper 90s to near 100 degrees. I mean, a pretty brutal heat wave. But we may be protected from it if that low pressure is stuck under it and has nowhere to go and drifts. It may keep us cloudy, it may keep us rainy at times, and therefore generally in the 80s. While the rest of the country, all surrounding us in areas that are typically colder climates, will be fighting a heat wave. That's the pattern that I am going with now on my end anyway for the end of July and perhaps the first part of August. That stands out to me. I could be completely wrong, but it's a trend that makes sense for what's happening so far this year. Certainly in the spring season we saw this. So right now I can't really find anything that would argue in a big way against it. So we'll see how that plays out. And now I know you're probably going to ask, well, what happens when it does move? Will the heat take over? Well, that's fair. And the answer to that, if you go by the pattern, yes. That would mean we would lose our protector of clouds and rain, and then, yeah, the big-time heat will come back in August. But at least for the rest of July, I think this may be the main feature we'll track. We'll see. We'll play it out slowly. Let me show you what the Euro looks like with this. And I'm pointing out areas in red would indicate for, all intents and purposes here for you guys just to kind of understand what I'm doing here. The areas in red would basically correlate with the heat. Blue would indicate cooler in the normal, but not cold. And then I got the rainstorms plotted on here as well. For the weekend, 4th of July looks good, by the way. 5th of July, a lot of you have a lot going on this weekend. I know over in Bethlehem, big fireworks show. Everything looks good there. It's just going to be a hot weekend. Here's that front. Starts to show up, dropping in on Sunday. Here we go with Monday into Tuesday. There it is, Monday night. Then we get into Tuesday, and again, you see where it is mainly south of us into Tennessee. And then we get ready for the reorganization of it in the Midwest. And then the clusters of showers and storms start to show up. It's at the very end of the window. This is the one that I think right now that has the chance. It'll either be this feature or the one currently over Kentucky. I don't know which one of the two yet, but one of them here is going to eventually take over and become the one that kind of gets lost, leading to the stormy extended. All right, let me get right into this extended and get to your questions, and then I do have to run. I know it's a short visit, but hey, there's not a lot going on, right? There we go with 90s for today, of course. So we'll go about 90, 92, very similar to what we had yesterday. Just remember that small chance for a downpour exists today on our southern sections. 94, 96, 95, 92 overall for the holiday weekend, and then we get into the stormier period in the extended. Kevin, whoops, sorry, Kevin. Your comment flew by there. So rainy next weekend, perhaps if that low is stuck, yes. I would say a washout. It's hard to get a washout anymore unless you have a tropical system that's stuck over you. But most of the time, it's just an active setup of showers and storms. We could use some rain. That's the thing. I mentioned this before. You can only go about a week around here. That's about the minimum without rainfall, and you start to run into problems, especially for the farmers out there, your annuals, for your gardeners. You run into problems. So you don't want to go longer than a week. So these heat waves so far are timed at just at the end of the scale. Then we got to get rain. This one's the same. I know it's a holiday weekend. Great timing on that to be dry. But boy, we need to get back into the rain. We do. As much as everyone kind of frowns when we get thunderstorms in the outlook, we need that. Got to keep it this way to keep us out of a drought when it counts later this summer. This is the very crucial part of the year happening the next 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, everyone. So what'd you say, Rosalind? I'm going to E-Town's Founders Day on Friday and Bullet Blast on Saturday. Woohoo! All right, you go. Rosalind's on it. And say hi to ET if you see ET. What did it say? Google says it could be ranking like it's done with Twitch. Did I miss something? Something happened on Twitch? What you guys are talking about? Are you talking about a game? Are you talking about Call of Duty? Fortnite? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Mario Paint. Oh yeah, we need to bring back Mario Paint. I have it somewhere still at home. YouTube has a new rating system. Well, that's terrifying. I don't even want to know what. Yeah, I don't want to know. Why do we always have to rate everything? Well, we love to rate things. We love to rate things, and we love to mix like items in our kitchen together to create a new type of ice cream that comes out. You know, it's like pickled Cheeto, vinegar, mustard, ice cream. New now in stores. It's like, who comes up with this stuff? Okay, Madison Regatta, yes, is this weekend. I know we've had some hot ones in the past, nothing like 2012. That was brutal. This year will be hot, but it'll be fun. Stay cool, as always. All right, guys, I got to run. Thanks for watching. I will try to be on here tomorrow morning. Tawana is out tomorrow, so I'll be on early in the morning for sunrise and for at least part of the day on midday. Otherwise, if I don't see you in the morning on here, I will see you guys coming up later for next week. Okay, have a good one. See you guys coming up on the flip side.